Where's Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2.
Welcome back to the Curiosity Shop. This is Mansfield 103.2 and I'm Wes Dolan. We've got quite a lot going on at the shop this evening if you'd like to stick around. This week's main theme is the weather, and we're going to be looking at it from a few different viewpoints and how it can affect all of our lives, even if we don't realise it. Certainly affects my life as a busker. Oh, and by the way, did I mention it's St. Patrick's Day? So it just wouldn't feel right if we didn't play a few Irish tunes. I've also got my dad in the shop with me. He was born in Ireland and busked in and around Mansfield over 30 years ago. So we'll be talking a little bit about all that, as well as playing a few songs for you along the way. Back to the sunshine, the rain, the hail, the wind, the sleet, the fluffy clouds and the black clouds now on Mansfield 103.2 this evening, with my first offering from within the comfort and warmth of the Curiosity Shop.
Where is Mona? She's long gone.
If you aren't familiar with that number, it was 15 feet of pure white snow from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Now, snow goes really well with the festive period, and we've become accustomed to a bit of it here and there over the last few years. I remember only 12 months ago, we still had snow and it was -5. Weather like that makes it really difficult for people like me, performing the streets for a living. It's too cold to be out there for long periods, and even if I could, the town is practically empty when there's been heavy snowfall. I feel the most for the people who are sleeping in the streets at this time. That's a massive issue, and something we'll be talking about in a future episode. Everything seems to reach the verge of kaput when we get more than a bit of snow. Schools get shut down, roads are closed, everyone rushing to the supermarket to get their stock of food and milk, or in my case, cigarettes. Yes, I know it's a bad habit and I need to stop, and I'm gonna do that soon. Yet in other countries, temperatures plummet to lower than -35. I wonder how the people living in that type of climate deal with it. Way better than I could, that's for sure. I'm more of a summertime kind of man. Busking in the streets is much nicer when you can soak up the rays from the sun. Talking of the summertime, here's Mungo Jerry. I told you it was going to be busy tonight at the Curiosity Shop. This is Mansfield 103.2 and I'm Wes Dolan, the busker with his own radio show. We've already had a bit of snow and some sunshine before we've even started. After the break, me and my dad are going to be playing a song, and it's another one about the weather. It's also an Irish number though, being as it's St. Patrick's Day, so listen up for our rendition of A Rainy Night in Soho.
Where's Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2.
I've been loving you a long time, down all the years, down all the days, and I cried at all your sorrows, smiled at your funny little ways. We saw our friends grow up together, and we saw them as they fell. Some of them fell into heaven, and some of them fell into hell. I took a shelter from a shower, and I stepped into your arms. on a rainy night in Soho. The wind was whistling all its charms. I sang you all my sorrows. You told me all your joys. Whatever happened to that old song? To all those little girls and boys. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, the ginger lady by my bed, covered in a cloak of silence. I hear you talking in my head. I'm not singing of the future. I'm not dreaming of the past. I'm not talking of the first time. I never think about the last. And now this song is nearly over. We may never find out what it means, but there's a light I hold before me, and you're the measure of my dreams.
This is West Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2. That was my dad's cover of a very poignant and poetic Pogues number, A Rainy Night in Soho. The song mentions the rain and the wind in a more romantic light, but for a busker, the wind and the rain can be an absolute nightmare. There's been many a time I've had to take a shelter in a shop doorway whilst busking in heavy rain and winds. If the wind isn't so bad though, and it's only light showers, I've learnt a bit of a busker's trick when I'm sitting on my little travel chair. I've managed to balance my umbrella in between myself and my guitar while still playing and singing, which might appear a little comical, but it's the difference between getting wet and not. I bring a large polythene cover or two for my little amplifier, and Darren or Rocky from Timpson's will often bring me a hot coffee before they start their shift. I also get lots of friends and supporters bring me hot drinks and food whilst I'm busking in the wind and rain, so there's usually a way to survive as a street performer. That's my experience busking these days, but I remember when I first started out, it was a tough way to make a living without amplification. My dad was busking 30 years ago, when I guess times were very different. My dad's name is Liam Dolan, and he's here with me in the shop today. What are your memories of busking in the harsh weather?
How freezing it was. I used to look down and my hand was covered in blood, but your hand was that cold you didn't realise, and my guitar was full of blood. My fingers was full of blood, but you didn't feel it in your hands because your hands was that freezing. Your plectrum was on the floor, and you'd been playing your guitar for 5 minutes or so, and you didn't even realise you were just using your fingers. It was that cold. You used to have to wear about 3 or 4 coats. You couldn't play your guitar that good because you were wrapped up that well. But yeah, I can remember all them days.
Yeah, we've both done our fair share of singing in the rain and the cold and the wind. And there's been many a morning when I've looked out the window and just known that there's some heavy rainfall on the way. And that brings me to my next song.
Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? And where have you been, my darling young one? But I'll know my song well before I start singing. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, and it's a hard rains are gonna fall.
This is West Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2. That was Bob Dylan singing A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. Great song, but we don't need a weatherman to know that, do we? Especially in Mansfield. I guess it wouldn't be the same without a heavy downpour every now and then, would it? So we're here at the shop this evening, and it's great to have my dad here with me. After the break, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the weather, as well as celebrating St. Patrick's Day by playing a few more Irish numbers. Our next song is about a ship that lost its way in the fog. I thought the buskers had it hard with the bad weather here sometimes, but trust me, it's nothing compared to the hardships of the musicians that worked on the Irish Rover.
Wes Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2.
In the year of our Lord 1806, we set sail for the sweet Cove of Coal. We were sailing away with a cargo of bricks for the Grand City Hall in New York. 'Twas an elegant craft, she was rigged for an hour, and oh how the trade winds drove her. She had 23 masts, and she stood several blasts, and they called her the Irish Rover. There was Barney McGee from the banks of the Lee, there was Hogan from County Tyrone, there was Johnny McGurk, who was scared stiff of work, and a man from Westmeath called Malone. There was Slugger O'Toole, who was drunk as a rule, and fighting Beltracy from Dover, and your man Mick McCann from the banks of the Bann was the skipper of the Irish Rover. There was old Mickey Coote, who played out on his flute when the ladies lined up for a set. He was tooting with skill with each sparkling quadrille, though the dancers were fluted and vets. You could tell by his talk he was cock of the walk. He rode the girls under and over, and you knew at a glance when he took up his stance that he sailed with the Irish Rover. Yo! We had 1 million bags of the best Lego rags. We had 2 million barrels of stone. We had 3 million sides of old blind horses' hides. We had 4 million barrels of bone. We had 5 million oaks, 6 million dogs, 7 million barrels of porter. We had 8 million bales of old nanny goat's tails in the hold of the Irish Rover. We had had sailed 7 years when the measles broke out and our ship lost its way in the fall. And that whale of a crew was reduced down to 2, just myself and the captain's old dog. Then the ship hit a rock. Oh Lord, what a shock. She nearly turned right over. She turned 9 times around, and that poor old dog was drowned. 2, 3, that's the last of the Irish Rover. Yo.
A busy time for a singer with Irish roots. I've already played one gig in Belper this afternoon. In case you've just tuned in, this is West Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2, and I'm here with my dad, Liam, until 8 p.m. You can catch us later on tonight with the band alias Smith and Dolan playing for St Patrick's Day at the Forest Town Arena too. Now, St Patrick's Day holds some great memories from me, and I'm very proud of my Irish roots. A few decades ago, when I was first starting out, I used to play a couple of gigs on the day every year, but my dad and uncle were the backbone of the band, and I'd just sit enjoying and learning my trade while sampling a few Guinnesses and Jamesons along the way. How times change. These days it's very rare I'll have a drink at all, never mind St Patrick's Day. I'm always driving back and forth from gigs, so I won't bother with it. Just play some music for the crowds and back home to put my feet up for an hour or two. As I said, I've got my dad here with me tonight. He's been helping me shift some boxes around the shop. He was born in Ireland and has a lot more St Patrick's Day memories than I do.
I can remember being in Ireland when I was 4 years old. I mean, I left Ireland when I was 4, and I can remember days before that. I can remember walking up and down the street. I can remember falling on the street. I can remember coming across on the ferry. Me and my brother Joe, we were swinging on the bunk beds. I can remember it as clear as anything. And all the music was always round the house. One of my uncles used to play the accordion and drums and whistles, so there was always some sort of music going off. My dad used to say to me, he'd say, but you don't play that one out, that's a bit of a rebel song. He says, you never sing that on the street. So he'd get stuff like that. But St Patrick's Day, I've been doing it for years, and they're all fantastic memories, because there used to be about 9 of us in the band at one time, and it used to be just fantastic fun. The whole pub used to rock, because the Irish definitely like to go out and celebrate.
Why don't you give us a blast of one of the songs you used to hear when you was a kid in Ireland?
Something like... Tell me, ma, when I go home, the boys won't leave the girls alone. Pull my hair, stole my comb, that's alright till I go home. She is handsome, she is pretty, she is the belle of Belfast City. She is a curtain, 1, 2, 3, please will you tell me who is she? Albert Mooney says he loves her, all the boys are fighting for. Knocking on the door and a ring on the bell, oh my true love, are you well? Out she comes as white as snow, rings on her fingers, bells on her toes. Old Johnny Mercy says she'll die if she doesn't get a fella with a roving eye.
Sound, yeah. I thought I may as well sing along, because it makes you want to sing along anyway, don't it? Oh, you must have been playing that for 30 odd years.
I can remember one Christmas, my mum and dad bought me a little little tiny accordion, and my uncle was teaching me how to play it, and he taught me the first few lines of The Wild Colonial Boy. And so I used to mess about on that, and then I started picking my mouth organ up and trying to learn myself to play mouth organ, right from being a kid, really.
There's no wonder you're so good at the mouth organ then. I've been trying for a few years now, and I can do it, but not as well as you. Anyway, we're going to perform another favourite for St Patrick's Day now. This song sets the scene of one summer evening, drunk to hell, and it's called A Pair of Brown Eyes.
One summer evening, drunk to hell, I sat there nearly lifeless. An old man in the corner sang where the water lilies grow, and on the jukebox Johnny sang about a thing called love. And it's how you kid and what's your name, and how do you bloody know? In blood and death, 'neath the screaming sky, I lay there on the ground. The arms and legs of other men were scattered all around. Some prayed and cursed and prayed and bled some more. And the only thing that I could see was a pair of brown eyes that were looking at me. And when we got back labelled parts 1 to 3, there was no pair of brown eyes waiting for me. And a roving I'll go. A roving I'll go. A roving I'll go. For a pair of brown eyes. For a pair of brown eyes. I looked at him, he looked at me. All I could do was hate him, while Ray and Philomena sang of my elusive dreams. I saw the streams and rolling hills where his brown eyes were waiting, and I thought about a pair of brown eyes that waited once for me. So drunk to hell, I left that place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking. A hungry sound came across the breeze, so I gave the walls a talking. And I heard the sound of long ago from across the old canal, and the birds were whistling in the trees, and the wind was gently laughing. And a roving I'll go. A roving I'll go. A roving I'll go. For a pair of brown eyes. For a pair of brown eyes. A roving I'll go. A roving I'll go. A roving I'll go. For a pair of brown eyes. For a pair of brown eyes.
This is West Dolan on Mansfield 103.2. After the break, we're going to be taking a look at how people lived with the weather in the old days and how they tried to stay one step ahead of it. That'll be straight after we've had a listen to a bit of Johnny Nash, I Can See Clearly Now the Rain Has Gone.
Where's Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Gonna be
This is West Dolan on Mansfield 103.2. That was Johnny Nash. And I can relate to that song in a literal way sometimes when I'm having to dodge in and out of the doorways singing in the rain. I've been looking into how people used to deal with bad weather back before we had all this technology. And I found a few interesting facts about weather in general. Snowflakes falling at 2 to 4 miles per hour can take up to 1 hour to reach the ground. Just think about that for a minute. Originally in 1870, when the weather department was set up in the good old USA, it was for the Department of War and wasn't transferred to the Department of Agriculture until 20 years later in 1890. Obviously these days we've learnt a lot about the weather and how to predict it. Although I do sometimes wonder when I've planned for a sunny day of busking and then end up wishing that I brought my umbrella. Seriously though, research and technology has given us all sorts of useful and useless information, depending on the context I guess. For example, I can tell you that the windiest place on Earth is Antarctica, with winds being recorded of over 200 miles per hour. I can't imagine busking in that kind of weather, but as I've said many times before, I felt like I'm trooping on through the storm and getting on with my day, no matter how bad the weather is. Riders on the Storm, The Doors. That's really atmospheric, that song, isn't it? So we're getting towards the end of another session at the Curiosity Shop now. This is West Dolan here on Mansfield 103.2. After the break, we're going to hear what some of the Mansfield public have to say about the weather. That's after we've listened to a bit of Crowded House.
Where's Dolan's Curiosity Shop on Mansfield 103.2.
This is West Dolan, the busker with his own radio show on Mansfield 103.2. A few weeks ago now, I was walking my two Akitas around Titchfield Park, not really paying much attention to anything but my thoughts, when I caught a little glimpse of myself with a bit more of a skip to my step than usual. And then I realised the sun was shining and it had put my body and mind in a better mood before I was even aware of it. As I said earlier, I'm more of a summer man. I feel like hibernating in low temperatures, but if the sun's out, then most probably I will be too. Anyway, here's what a few shoppers in Mansfield Town Centre had to say about the weather and how they think it affects us.
I wasn't expecting it this morning, but it's really nice here. I mean, I did wear a jacket, but obviously it's now off. I wasn't expecting this sun this morning.
And does it make you feel in a better mood to be out in the sun? Or?
Yeah, it does.
Well, I think this weather today is absolutely glorious, as you can well see, and it's beautiful and sunshiny in Mansfield Town. Everybody's out and bright and cheerful. As for the winter conditions, it's not very nice in Mansfield, but we all get by and we all get through the situation and we all wait for summertime to come.
What job do you do? Is it difficult in the winter or?
My job as a winter cleaner is very difficult because we all know it's absolutely freezing cold. But as the summertime comes, we all love this pretty summertime. It makes us feel all a lot better and a lot bright and a lot cheerful.
What do you think to the summers? Do we get a decent summer or?
We've had odd one, but not as many as we could have had.
So most of those people prefer the summer too. Although I guess there's more to it for those of us who are working outside. Before we part, here's my final song of the evening.
Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up singing. You spread your wings and you reach for the sky. Until that morning, ain't nothing can harm you. With your mommy and pappy by your side. Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. So hush, little baby, don't you cry.
This is West Dolan on Mansfield 103.2, and that was my version of Summertime. I only learnt it a few weeks ago, and since then it seems to have brightened up a bit around Mansfield. Anyhow, that's all we have time for this evening at the Curiosity Shop. Next week, we're going to be talking about time, what we like to do with it, what we don't like to do with it, and well, what is it? Also, we're going to hear from Roger Brotherhood, my former boxing coach. But for now, I'll leave you with this. A bit of sun, a bit of rain, that sums up the Mansfield weather. One day to the next, you're not sure if you need an umbrella. But there is a place that's always dry and it lifts a weight. Just catch me here next week at the shop, 7 until 8.
Fingers on a purple knife, flamingo drinking from a cocktail glass. I'm on the lawn with someone else's wife. Admire the view from up on top of the mast. Hey, little bird, fly away home. House is on fire, children all alone. Hey, little bird, fly away home. House is on fire, your children all alone. Children